this checkpoint. Okay, so we're on the dilations checkpoint. So the first question, it says, consider the following graph of CD. Okay, so we have this line. Which graph demonstrates CD being dilated by a factor of 2, where the center of dilation is the origin? So when we're doing dilations, we want to look at the points. So the first thing we want to do is look at point C, which is at -4, 0. So make sure you write your X and then your Y. So the X axis is -4 and the Y value is 0. And then we have point D. The X value is 2 and the Y value is 3. So it helps to write the points first. And then we are dilating by a factor of 2. So we multiply to get our C prime, we have to multiply those values by 2 if we're dilating by 2. So -4 times 2 for the X value would be -8. And then 0 times 2 would just be 0. So C prime would be at -8, 0. And then D prime, we have to multiply the X value by 2. So that would be 2 times 2, which is 4. And then 3 times 2, which is 6. So now we know these are the points that we're looking for our dilated segment. So we go down. Let's see, the first one. Looks like C is at -4, -6. So we know it's not this one. The second one is at -1, and it looks like a decimal, -1 point something. So we know it's not this one. The third one is at -2, 0. So that's not -8, 0. And the last one, here we go. C prime is at -8, 0. And D prime is at 4, 6. Any questions on the first question, number 1?
No, I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, awesome. Go to the next one. Oops, I hit the wrong button, sorry. Let me go back. Okay, so number 2, which symbolic mapping statement corresponds to the verbal mapping statement? A figure is dilated by a factor of 2 and the center of dilation is the origin. So if we—
No idea how to do this one.
Okay, perfect. That's Lucas. So it looks a lot scarier than it is.
I hope so.
I promise you're going to be like, that was it. So we're always starting with X and Y typically, right? Just like we started with C and D. So we can use this, the one we just did, as an example. So we had C and D, right? And then what did we do to get C prime? If the factor that we dilated with a scale factor of 2 on the last question, right? So to get -8, we multiplied 2 times C, right?
Yep.
And then to get, or sorry, not C, it would be the X and the Y. Sorry. Because it wasn't point C and D. Sorry, X and Y. So to get C prime, to get the X value, we multiplied 2 times X when our scale factor was 2.
Mm-hmm.
And then to get the Y value for C prime, we multiplied the original value by 2. So if the scale factor is 2 and we're starting with the point X and Y, we're going to multiply the X times 2 and the Y times 2. So if, go ahead.
What? I'm so confused.
Let's say we're starting, let's sketch a graph. And let's say we are at 1 and 1. So our X value is 1 and our Y value is 1. And we want to dilate this point. Oh, I guess we need 2 points. We'll do N2, 1. So here's our line. And then we want to dilate it by a scale factor of 3. So our first point is 1, 1. And our second point was 2, 1. So how do we get the new points? If it's a scale factor of 3, we have to multiply the x coordinate and the y coordinate by our scale factor, which is 3. So it would be 3x and 3y. And so our new points would be 1 times 3. So here's our x value. We'd multiply that by 3. And so it would be 3. And then the y value is 1. So we'd multiply that by 3. And so the first point would be at 3, 3. And then the second point, we have to multiply our x value, which is 2, by 3. So it would be 6. And then our y value, which is 1, multiply that by 3. So anytime your whatever your scale factor is, as long as it's being dilated by the origin, it's just going to be x times that scale factor and y times that scale factor. So this said it has a scale factor of 2. So you're going to take your x coordinate and your y coordinate, and you're going to multiply the x coordinate by 2, and you're going to multiply the y coordinate by 2. And so that's why it's the 2x comma 2y. Does that help clarify, Lucas?
Well, I'm lost in the sauce.
So you understand what the scale factor is, right? So you're expanding.
No, that's my issue. I don't know what scale factor means.
Okay. So for the first workbook on dilations, it kind of talks about the scale factor. That's how much you're stretching it or shrinking it by a figure. Does that sound familiar?
Wait, say it again.
It's how much, so dilations are you're stretching things and you're shrinking things.
Okay.
So if the scale factor's 2, you're doubling it. You're doubling the size of that figure. If the scale factor is half, you're shrinking it by half. So it becomes half the size.
All right.
So if you're doubling it, you're doubling all of the x and the y values. If you're tripling it, you're going to triple all of the x and the y values. And then that gives you the dilation of with a scale factor of 2 or 3 or 1/2, whatever it is.
Wow. That was complicated.
Sophia, Abel, Ryan, do you guys have any questions?
No, I get it.
Okay. So Lucas, I could stay on with you too to help you get caught up on that stuff too after if you're still struggling.
For sure.
Okay. So we'll keep moving along. So number 3, and it's going to make sense to you as we continue doing these practice problems. Hopefully. So triangle PQR has vertices of P -3, 4, point Q -8, 3, and point R -1, -6. Triangle PQR is dilated by a scale factor of 8. So we're stretching this 8 times bigger, this triangle. And it's being at the origin to get triangle P prime, Q prime, R prime. So what are the coordinates of points P prime, Q prime, and R prime of the image? So we have point P, which is -3, 4, point Q. You know what? I just realized you guys can't see my screen, huh?
No, I can see it.
Okay, you
I
can't.
can see it.
Okay, it's not lined up green, and I was like, shoot, maybe that's why. Okay, phew. Okay, so Q is -8, 3, and R is -1, -6. So if we're going to dilate it by a scale factor of 8, what are we going to do to each of these points? How are we going to get P prime, Q prime, and R prime? What do we need to multiply by? You can send it to me in the chat if you don't want to say it. Yes, perfect. Very good, Abel. We need to multiply by the scale factor. So since our scale factor is 8, we need to multiply all of our points, all of the x values and the y values by 8 to get our new points. So we're going to do -3 times 8, which is -24, and 4 times 8, which is 32. So P prime is going to be the point -24, 32. Sophia, what would Q prime, what would the X value be for Q prime?
Oh, sorry, someone's talking to me. Yes.
Sorry?
Could you repeat the question?
Oh yeah. So what would the X value be for Q prime? If the X for Q was -8, what's it going to be for Q prime?
That'd be -64 and
Excellent.
24.
Perfect. And then the Y value is 3. So 3 times 8 would be 24. Very good. Lucas, you want to try R?
Yeah,
R prime?
-8 and -48.
Exactly. Very good. So for this one, if we were going to write it in terms of that previous question, we have our X, Y's here. And then for our primes, what did we do? We multiplied them by 8. So that's why it would be 8x, 8y. Because we multiplied to get all of our prime points, we multiplied by 8. So let's see. Which one of these it looks like? This one right here. Are your questions in the same order as mine, or are they shuffled?
Oh, they're shuffled.
Yeah, they're shuffled.
Okay. I'll have to figure out, I wonder if there's a way for me to set that to not. But are you guys able to just skip to the ones? Are you finding the ones that I'm doing? Okay, perfect. Yeah. This is my first time teaching a strong mind class, so I don't know all of the tricks yet. But you guys do. Okay. So number 4 for me, it says, consider the following graph of triangle GHI and its image. The scale factor for this dilation is blank. So we're trying to figure out what the scale factor is. So we want to start with our pre-image, which is GH and I. So we have point G, point H, and point I. So you want to write down the points first. -4, 1. And then H is -3, 4. And then I is -3, -2. And then we can look at the dilated image to figure out what the scale factor is. So G prime is at -8, 2. H is at -6, 8. And I is at -6, -4. So remember, we're going from G to G prime. So you want to look from this point to this point. What do we do? If you go this way, it's going to be wrong. So what do we multiply -4 by to get -8?
2.
Yep. And 1 by 2 would give us 2. So we'll check just to make sure. -3 times 2 is -6. 4 times 2 is 8. -3 times 2 is -6. Yep. So perfect. We know then that the scale factor of this triangle is 2. So you would just type in a 2 here. Any questions on number 4?
Oh, so the answer is what you multiplied by.
Yep, that's the scale factor. So it's just asking, yep, what was the scale factor from the pre-image to the image? So, and the pre-image is the ones without the little apostrophe. So that we use the word prime, and that means that's been dilated or transformed for any transformation. You saw it with the reflections and translations. So for any transformation. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Good. Yep. Any other questions? Comments? Okay, we'll move on to number 5. And please ask away, ask questions, anything that's not making sense to you, because that's what we're here for. Okay, which graph shows a dilation of line AB by a scale factor of 1/2? So you have to look at the points for A and for B and figure out which A prime and B prime is half of those points. The X value was multiplied by 1/2 and the Y value was multiplied by 1/2. So we'll start with, we'll call this A. So let's see. Point A and point B. Point A is at 4,2, or sorry, -4,2. And B is at 2, -4. And then A prime is at -2, 1. And B prime is at 1, -2. And so we're looking for a scale factor of 1/2. So let's see, if we do -4 and multiply that by half, we are going to end up with -2. If we do 2 and half of 2 is 1, so that works so far. Let's see if it works for B. 2, if we take half of 2, that is 1. And -4, if we take half of that, that's -2. So we got really lucky. The first one is, but there could be several. So let's go through and check if any of the others are too. So let's look at the second graph. We already, let's see, -2, 6. So we'll just list the points again and see. We have -2, 6 and 4, -2. And then we have 1, 3 and 2, -1. So is half of -2, 1?
Nope.
Nope. So then we know it's not this one. Did I write my points right? Let me make sure. -2, 6. Oh, you know what? It's because I missed for A prime, I didn't write -1 because I'm like all the other points. Hold on. I missed my negative there. So we got to pay, that's a good reminder to be careful as you're writing your points. So it looks like, because I'm like, all the other points are half. So half of -2 is -1. Half of 6
No way, really?
3.
Oh, shoot.
Sorry, yeah, I missed the negative. I had +1 when
Oh, yeah.
A prime is at -1, 3. And then we have 4, -2. And then half of 4 is 2, and half of -1 is, or sorry, half of -2 is -1. So it looks like that one is also. And let's check the next few. So our third graph, let's see, this one we can kind of already tell just by looking at the A's. So A,
So what was the first one that you said was right? Is that wrong now?
no, it's multiple select.
Oh,
So
okay.
there's a couple that it could be. So let's look at this third one. If A is -2, 6, A prime, I can already tell just by looking at the graph, A prime is at -2 and 1. So see, A to A prime, the X value didn't cut in half. It's not half of it. It's -2 and then -2 again. So we know it's not this third graph. Let's check the fourth and the fifth graph. Then for this one, we have A is at -4, -6. B is at 6, 4. And A prime is at -3, -2. And B prime is at 2, 3. So let's see, half of -4 would be what?
-2.
Yep, and our x is not -2, it's -3. So it's not this one. And let's check the
Oh, it
last.
has to be that one then.
Oh, maybe, or there could only, maybe there's only 2.
Oh, yeah.
Let's check and see. Well, this one actually we can kind of tell without even doing any math, because you can tell the line segment AB is shorter than A prime B prime. If it's a fraction, it's getting smaller, so it's not getting larger. So we know it's not this last one either. It should be shrinking by 1/2, and in this case, it looks like it probably doubled. Any questions on
So
number
which
5?
ones was it?
So it's this one. I don't know if your answer choices are shuffled, but
Yeah.
it's the one with A prime at -2, 1 and B prime at 1,
Oh,
-2.
okay, yeah, I got it.
Okay, and did you get the second one also?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. All right. Number 6, we have line segment RS is dilated by a scale factor of 6 centered at the origin. What are the coordinates of R prime and S prime? So what am I going to do to find the R prime and S prime coordinates? Does anyone know?
What?
So we are going to stretch this by a scale factor of 6. So what do I need to do to find R prime and S prime?
Find the coordinates first.
Yep. So how do I find those okay, so find S and R. Yes. So we can write down those coordinates first. So S is at 2, 8. Good. That's a great starting spot. And R is at 4, 2.
And then multiply by 6, right?
And then multiply by 6. Very good. So for S prime, we're going to do 2 times 6, which is 12. And then for the Y value, 8 times 6, which is 48. And for R prime, 4 times 6 is 24. 2 times 6 is 12.
Too easy.
It's not so bad. So then we have 12, 20, let's see, 1248. Where's 1248? 1248 and 2412 for R. So for me, it's the first one. So the R prime 2412 and S prime 1248. Any questions on number 6? Awesome. Okay, number 7. Select all graphs that show a transformation using the mapping statement. Segment LM is dilated by a factor of 4, where the center of dilation is the origin. So this is just like we just did number 5. So we'll just write the points and see which ones are where all the X values and Y values get multiplied by 4. So let's break this up. So Lucas, can you check the first graph? Although, are your graphs shuffled?
Yeah.
First graph, okay, they are shuffled. That makes it tricky.
I can still find that one, I guess. Yeah, I found it. See, my one for that is the last one.
Okay, so yeah, if you guys can figure it. So Lucas, can you do the vertical? These two are vertical lines. So that graph, and let us know if it's dilated by 4. And then Sophia, can you check this one where the two kind of line up in a diagonal line?
Yeah.
Okay, and then Abel, can you check these two? Look a little bit closer. So the one where the L prime M prime is across the top. It's really long, and then the LM segment is right below it. So you guys check those 3, and then I'll do these last 2. And then we'll come back and share if it is, and explain why or why not. And then send me in the chat ready or yes or something so that I know when you guys are ready to go over it once you're done with yours, with your graph.
I think I got my answer.
All right. Okay. Sophia, just let me know. Are you ready?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay, perfect. Okay, so let's
Yeah,
go.
mine was easy.
Okay, perfect. So Lucas, was yours being dilated with a scale factor of 4?
I'm pretty sure I don't really know what I'm doing, but I mean, I kind of just times it by 4 and it was 4 away if you
Perfect.
times it by 4, so I thought it was correct.
Yeah, you knew exactly what you were doing. Yeah, I mean, you can just look. You don't, I'm just writing it for you guys to visualize it, to see exactly what. But yeah, you can look at M and it's at 2, 2. So
Yeah.
if you multiply both of those by 4, it should be at 8, 8. And M prime is at 8, 8. And then you can check L is at 2, negative 2. So if you multiply that by 4, it should be at 8, negative 8. And it is. So you're right. So that one we would select.
Too easy.
You've got it. Don't doubt yourself. Okay. And then Sophia, what about the second one? Or
It's not.
It's not? How come? Can you give an example of one?
I forgot what it's called. The pink one is smaller and it's supposed to be larger.
Perfect. That's right.
Yeah.
It should be larger. Exactly. Perfect. And Abel for this graph. Okay, perfect. So this only had a scale factor of 2 and not 4. Good.
Oh, really?
Let's see. That's, instead of it being times 4, it was times 2 for all of the numbers. Let's see. 2.
Wait, so that one's not right?
2. Let's see. So it's at 2, negative 2. So if we multiplied both of those by 4, 2 times 4 would be 8. And then negative 2, though, times 4 would be at negative 8. So it should have been down here at 8, negative 8.
Oof.
And then for this one, it's at negative 2, 0. So if we multiplied by 4, it would be negative 8, which it is, but then the 0 times 4 is still 0. So it's definitely not that one. And then let's look at the ones that I did. Hi, Sydney. We are working on the checkpoint, the dilation checkpoint, if you want to hop on yours. We're just about done. Okay, so then I did this one and I wrote the point so I could show you. So point L was at negative 8, 8, and then L prime was at negative 2, 2. And then M was at 8, 2, and M was at 2 and 0.5. So this actually had a scale factor of 1/4. It shrunk.
Mm.
And then the same thing. So the same thing with this one. And you can tell, because just like Sophie, I didn't even really need to do the points. You can tell that L prime and M prime got smaller when it should be getting larger.
So which ones are the right ones?
So, and then let me go over the last one. So then the last one though, L prime was at negative 2, 0, or sorry, L was at negative 2, 0. And when I multiply both of those by 4, I got L prime, which is what they gave me, negative 8, 0 and M. So the same thing. So this one, these points were dilated by 4. So it's this one where the points are negative 2, 0, 2, 2, and then negative 8, 0, and 8, 8. It's this one. And then the one with the 2 vertical lines.
Okay.
Okay, any questions on number 7? All right, the last one. Number 8, so segment AB with endpoints point A at -6.9 and point B at 12, -3 is dilated by a scale factor of 2/3 centered at the origin. So just because it's a fraction, it doesn't change anything. So what are we going to need to do to find our new points, our dilated points? So A is -6.9, B is 12, -3. And our scale factor is 2/3. So what do we need to do to find our new points? You guys are doubting yourself. What have we been doing this whole time? What if it said it was a scale factor of 2? What would we do with our x values and our y values?
Oh, you just multiply it?
We would multiply it by 2, right? So it's a fraction, but it still means we multiply our x and our y values by the scale factor. So in this case, it's just going to take a little bit more math. So for a prime, for x, we're going to need to multiply -6 by 2/3. So we are just going to have to get back to fractions. So
-1.7.
this is a fraction. And so -6 times 2 is -12 divided by 3. So this is going to be -4. So a prime, our x value is -4. And then we also need to do the 9 times 2/3. So we turn both into a fraction. 9, then we can multiply straight across. 9 times 2 is 18. 18 divided by 3 is 6. Any questions how I got the a prime values for x and y? Okay, I'm going to let you guys try to find the b prime points. So you're going to multiply 12 by 2/3 and multiply -3 by 2/3. And then send me what you get in the chat.
Isn't 2/3 the same thing as 2.3?
No, 2/3, if you write it as a decimal, that would be like 0.666667. You can also kind of do it in your head. You can kind of break up 12 into 3, right? So how many would be in each group?
-4.
There would be 4, right? But then there's 2/3. So then you would multiply that by 2. That's another way you can do it if you don't want to write it out, to just do it mentally. Whatever way you're more comfortable.
Yeah, I actually don't know how to find the B points.
Okay, so you just have to multiply. So we're just going to multiply by the scale factor. So x is 12 and our scale factor is 2/3. So we have to multiply 12 times 2/3. Is that okay, that step?
Yeah.
Okay, and then when you're multiplying fractions, you just multiply the numerators, so the tops. So 12 times 2, which is 24, and then multiply across the bottom. So 1 times 3, which is 3. And then 24 divided by 3 is 8. So our x value would be 8. Now, do you think you can find the y value, Lucas?
Yeah.
Okay, go for it.
Wait, you mean the B coordinates?
Yeah, the y coordinate for b prime. Yes.
I think I got the coordinates.
Okay, awesome. So what did you get, Lucas? Was that you telling me? I think.
Yeah, I got a 8, -2.
Yep, you got -2, right? And so let's show how we would get -2. So -3, and if we multiply by 2/3, we get -6 divided by 3, which is -2. Okay, and then Strongline is picky, so make sure to leave the space after your comma when you're typing in your points. Oh, and it's just asking for the coordinates of A. We did extra. So the coordinates of A is -4, and then do comma, and then space 6 parentheses. Because if you don't do the space, it'll mark it wrong, even though you have the right numbers.
All right, are we good?
Thank you.
Yep, so that's it. You can see on if you guys have any other questions. What do you guys think? Do you want me to keep doing something like this or every couple of weeks or?
Yeah.
Yeah?
I like doing checkpoints and getting good grades on them.
So mainly for the checkpoints
Yeah.
or
Yes.
the workbook?
That's the points.
The
Yeah,
checkpoints?
checkpoints.
Okay, good to know. Thank you guys, thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Actually, hold on, because they are pushing this, can I take a screenshot really quick before you guys go? Because they're gonna be so happy. Okay, thank you. You guys can go.
All right.
Okay,
Bye.
thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Have a good week. Okay, bye.
Bye. Have a nice day.
Thank you. You too, Sydney.